Hi everyone, welcome to our deeper insights. So last night's Psycard was the moon card. This card's come up a few times in the past, but last night there was a completely different message that seemed to come through, and I feel in fact it was a deeper message, and especially to what kind of unravelled and unfolded overnight. Those of you that follow the page over on Facebook, Spirit Meets Venture, some of the posts that I put up this week were talking about the need for solitude, the occasional need for solitude. And I think that, what I was kind of drawing from is the fact that within the world, the world's moving very, very fast. Everything's kind of moving at speed. And within that, there's kind of, a hurriedness, almost a sense of chaos. I think that what we're talking about is the kind of collective consciousness of humanity, which actually is in trauma, which actually is, into a certain extent, or huge extent in fact, is actually, in chaos. So there's this deep sense of all that kind of emotion, all of that kind of energy just literally kind of spilling out into the world and around us. If you take a moment right now and you just kind of consider this and you think about what is one of the greatest emotions right now within the world, within humanity, what is one of the greatest emotions that you feel that sits there, that is there? For me, there's several. Consider that for a moment. One of them I would say is uncertainty. Another one of them is instability. Another one of them would be fear, desperation, sadness. You've got all this kind of layers, all of this kind of collective energy that is actually kind of pouring out into the world around us. So, some of what I was writing about in this last week, in fact, what I was kind of saying is that our occasional need for solitude is to absolutely bring back a sense of self, actually kind of reset, recharge, reboot, because I think that more and more and more people are having kind of emotional challenges. More and more people seem to be under more stress than ever. Stress-based illness actually has become the norm. And, I think what's at the heart of that is that the world is, collectively there's this healing that actually is kind of underneath the surface, is all bubbling up. All the wounds collectively and individually are just kind of absolutely coming up to the surface. And, I feel that more and more people are kind of, almost kind of just literally kind of opening up to that. Or another way of looking at it is that we've been living in a certain way for such a long time, that constantly our fight or flight mechanisms are constantly being triggered because of the speed of life, because of the demand of life, because of the modern day stresses that are placed upon us, that those kind of triggers of fight and flight are constantly being pushed, whereas they were designed going back to keep us safe. Have we come so far away from what is natural for us? So, that occasional need for solitude, I think, is the fuel for life. It is the only way that we are going to absolutely be able to kind of balance and gain a sense of normality in a world that seems to be absolutely in so much trauma. So last night's card, okay, really for me really piece that together. I kind of find that week by week, I kind of start the week, I kind of put out and share some kind of information, share some content, and then there seems to be a theme, and then come to the time when we do the weekly insights, it just seems to bring it all together. So if you kind of look at the moon card, all right, this is the moon card. The moon, okay, is nighttime. It is the symbol for emotion, for feeling, which is water, okay, water, emotion and feeling. One of the things that I was talking about was the fact that actually psychic stress, we just kind of touched upon that. I think more and people are experiencing a form of psychic stress, which is coming into contact with all of that collective energy, which is unseen. It's like the wind, it's unseen, but it's there, you can feel it's there, and it has an effect on us. Well, the moon pulls our tide, so therefore that has an effect on us. The other thing that I really wanted to kind of talk about, which I touched upon last night in the weekly insight, was Dr. Emoto. He was a Japanese scientist, researcher, who actually took crystallized water particles, he froze them, and he exposed them to like classical music. So he exposed the water to classical music, froze it, got a very powerful microscope, looked at the water particles, and they had these most beautiful, intricate patterns. And then he kind of exposed that water, a new lot of water, to people focusing anger and hatred and kind of chaos. And the water particles, when you looked at them, are completely distorted, totally kind of distorted and twisted, kind of horrible patterns. Well, that was all through thought. Okay, so that ties into what we're talking about. What are we coming into contact with? Which is the water, which is the emotion, which is the feeling. I think it's really important that we do try to honour that sense of being able to reset, and also become very aware of what we come into contact with. Words are alive. They have power. Thoughts are alive. They have power, which is why I'm able to kind of, in a way, pick up on how people are feeling. Because I'm feeling the emotional discharge come off of that person. That's one way. And then also kind of, feeling the innate, is you're coming into contact with the unseen, but it shows you that it's real. I'll put a link into this video about Dr. Emoto and one of his videos explaining how these water particles actually work. So words are alive, thoughts are alive, they have power. Your words and your thoughts carry tremendous energy. The words you speak to yourself and the others, they carry such tremendous energy. And not only do they carry that energy, they carry an effect. So just what are you coming into contact with? If you look at the crab here in this picture, one of the things about the crab, okay, is he has a protective shell. Okay, and that protective shell keeps him safe. So what we need to do is we need to kind of really be aware of the space around us, and sometimes we need to kind of strengthen or assert or re-strengthen and reinforce our boundaries to what we are coming into contact with. Consider this, okay? So this is what I'm talking about kind of thoughts and words have power, So when you speak your words, it's like you're casting your thoughts and your energy and your kind of intention out into the world around you. That becomes a living, breathing thing. As I say, think about the largest and strongest emotion that's within the world at this time. That's why it becomes kind of collective. what is that emotion? What is that feeling? Emotions and words hold that power. I was kind of thinking this morning, I woke up and thought about, the word spell, because all about words it was for me. Words holding kind of the intention, holding the emotion, the power of language. I was thinking this morning, about when we're at school, when we're very, very young. What's one of the first things that we learn to do? We learn to read, we learn to write, but we also learn to spell. And I thought to myself, the word spell, okay, where has that come from? And how is it that it's associated to magic? Okay, why is it the word spell has an association to the use within magic? Magic, when you kind of break that down, it's the use of word and intention and the power of the subconscious mind. Okay, which is why I love, allowing these insights to kind of stir and just kind of percolate overnight, because you can kind of bring out a deeper kind of wisdom to them. So, hopefully that stirred up some thought, is that think about that. So if I said to you about the association to the word spell and the association that has within the world of magic, there's magical kind of crafts that go back in time. But consider this: you're very, very young. You're very, 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 very young, and you're very impressionable. And someone turns around and says to you, "You're stupid." In that moment, within that time, all of that energy that comes with that word absolutely impacts you. You're very, very young, you're very, very impressionable, and that word, it might have been a parent, it may have been somebody that, was very, very agitated, very, very, very kind of, annoyed, had a hugely bad day, and you're gently trying to engage them, you're trying to get their attention, they kind of turn towards you and they snap at you and they just say, "You know what, just go away. Why is it that you're always stupid?" And suddenly that hits you like a ton of bricks, and it goes in so deeply that the next time that person comes home, you actually feel like you can't reach out, you can't engage them, you can't talk to them, because subconsciously you've kind of taken that on so deeply that you're afraid, you're feeling fragile about reaching out, about talking to them. And thereafter what happens is it shakes your confidence without realizing it. And what happens is, when you're in that situation that is similar, instead of kind of opening up to the world, you kind of draw back. Okay, you draw back into your shell based on an experience that happened within a microsecond. Or is it that the teacher that you were learning from says, you're going to come to nothing, you're just stupid. Again, that goes in. Words have absolute power. And when they're kind of discharged with a huge amount of emotion, they can absolutely go in. And when they go into the subconscious, which is, when I'm consulting and when I'm working, I'm very mindful about the use of language, and how that use of language is used with tone, and kind of intention, and the way that you deliver those words, because it all has power. So what are you coming into contact? What's around you? Are you protecting your environment? And that's another important point, not just within your environment, but I think that as we go forward, we need to look at the environment as a whole. What are we doing to kind of preserve that environment and take care of that environment? So there you go, guys. A lot of things to kind of consider, a lot of things that have been stirred up. I think it would be very kind of beneficial for or those of you who haven't come across Dr. Emoto, to click below, find the link below within this video, and just kind of let that just kind of wash over your awareness as well. But also know that when those words were delivered, you know, we've all had experiences where someone has said something to us, that those contracts can absolutely be undone. And one way to kind of undo them is kind of take a look in the mirror and absolutely begin to know yourself. You know, I know that there was a time when I was physically really challenged, and I was sharing this with someone yesterday, when I was recovering, that I was walking along towards the shopping mall, and I remember seeing the reflection of myself and thought, you know, wow, you know, I am really kind of challenged. There was quite a stoop, but you know what, I'm working hard on that, and I'm all the time, you know, trying to transform that, and I'm going to transform that. It was a very kind of strong mindset, but not always been the case. You know, going back in time, I would have felt really horrified to see that reflection, and I did at times, seeing that reflection as I walked towards it, thinking, oh my God, who's that stooped over old man? You know, words have power. I remember these three guys walking along, and they started, you know, they weren't young, that's the thing, they were kind of middle-aged, and they walked towards me, and one of them laughed and went, oh my God, look at that, a real life Quasimodo. And I remember just kind of inside going, wow, and then almost kind of laughing, because what I'd realised how far I'd come, because how I felt about that. I thought to myself, well, that's not how I see myself. And it just really defined of how far I'd come. You know, words do have power, but when we really get to know who we are, you know, I'm really kind of comfortable with myself, and comfortable with that is who I am, this is who I am. I know my strengths, I know my fragilities, and you know, when we can kind of have that kind of honest relationship with ourselves at that level, then we can look in the mirror and think, because someone says something to us, it doesn't make it a fact or a truth. There you go, guys, and I'll leave that with you. Hope that stirred up some thought for you, and see you all very soon. Take care, guys. Bye bye.